Yes, we can.
Great. So, so I will be talking about the adversarial machine learning attacks and defenses. So, basically, brief motivation on this topic.
Amir bhai, I just have a question over here, Amir bhai. Can we get
Yes.
the recorded session as well of this session, Amir bhai?
Yeah, most of the time I think Saif records it. So, inshallah, you will get
Yeah,
it.
it is getting recorded.
Sure, okay. That's really good. Because I'm not taking down the notes, so if we are getting the this thing recorded, means I'm not taking the notes. If not, I was planning of taking down the points and all those things.
Yeah, that should be fine.
Okay, thank you so much, Amit bhai.
No problem. So basically, nowadays, I think everybody is aware that machine learning is kind of the thing in terms of getting the work done, which was previously been like done by human beings, human experts, and so on. Maybe little bit of assistance they are also providing, and they have found its way in critical applications such as network security, whether it's a network intrusion detection system or image classifiers used in autonomous cars and healthcare applications. So this is being readily being used. Now, what is the adversarial machine learning? So these are basically an attack. So it's a security issue, and lot more than that as well. But primarily, it is a security issue which is intended to fool the ML models into making mistakes. So just a example of what basically I mean by fool the model. So we know that neural networks such as convolutional neural networks have really shown remarkable performance, and its variants has come along the way in last 10 years or so, in basically detecting the objects, classifying, and so on. So here is such an example of an attack issue. So there is a one neural network that classified this image as of a panda with a 57.7% confidence. Now you add some random noise to it with some multiplier, so it's very small, minute random noise, and you still, like, for us human eyes, it still looks like a panda, but the same neural network then it classifies as a given a type of monkey with 99.3% confidence. So this is like something like remarkable, because I mean, we would never make a mistake. Even if there is some noise added, it still looks like a panda to us. Now, the other implications of this is, see, there are like autonomous or self-driving cars are now relying on this computer vision models. So, for example, say they are reading some traffic signs, and suppose there are some stickers on that, right? Like some the image on the right. Sorry, image on the right, you will see that there are some stickers on the traffic signs. We as a human being drivers or human drivers would still see that as a stop sign, hopefully would stop there. But it has been found that the interpretation of this model by interpretation of this sign by the model has been turned out to be some size speed limits like 40 miles per hour, 30 miles per hour, and actually that's how they tend to believe in that kind of interpretation. So it is very puzzling for the deep learning researchers as well as practitioners as to now, since we are using all this machine learning and deep learning for all kinds of applications, from mundane applications to this critical applications, which is like a very safety critical application where people lives could depend on it. So what is that, we don't know. And again, honestly, I mean, if you read some literature on deep learning, it's still kind of a like very wide open research area as to how deep learning models learn, how do they generalize. There are various theories has been proposed, and they are being proposed every day, but nobody has convincingly come up with an theoretically sound explanation which is mathematically can be proved that this is how the neural networks generalize and this is how they learn exactly, and so on. So this is very puzzling. So that's the basic motivation for today's talk, as to highlight some of these challenges with the machine learning models and what are the kind of suggested solutions. So we'll give a wide overview of this field, and if time permits, we'll inshallah do a demo as well. So what are the different types of adversarial machine learning attacks? Now, adversarial, as understand, is basically an opponent or somebody trying to take advantage of it. So starting with, say, the bigger picture of it. So adversarial attacks could be either influence attack, security violation, or specificity. So in influence is basically if the attacker could somehow get an access to the training data itself. Now it's a supervised machine learning paradigm where you need lot of labeled data, and basically it turns to learn the deep neural networks or machine learning models tends to learn the representation through the data. Mostly deep learning models, they turn to learn the representation of the data. Now what if that training data itself is poison, right? What if somehow somebody can get to the hold of that training data and selectively modify some examples, training examples in that? Then of course your models will learn that and will be at a risk. Another attack is the exploratory type attack in the influence model, where the basically attacker probes the model to learn more about the models, like what kind of parameters you are using, what kind of hyperparameters you are using, so on and so forth. This could give them the more ammunition for further attacks also. The second category is the security violation attack, where basically you compromise the model to such an extent that it makes so many mistakes, it's rendered useless. Think of this like a denial of service kind of attack or distributed denial of service kind of attack, right? So it's like inoperable, or it's making so much mistakes, so much false negatives and false positives, that it is no longer worthy of deploying in the production. And very related attack to it is a privacy attack, where the attacker is trying to get more information from the model. It could be that sensitive data. For example, if there is some data being input, say for example, say it says loan processing application, some financial application, or health information. If that kind of a personally identifiable information, PII data, is being used, and now if you are able to extract that data through this attack, it's a big risk. Third category of attack is a specificity attack. So here, rather than indiscriminately trying to fool the model or compromise the model, it's very specific targeted attack that for certain areas of the input classes, it tries to basically compromise the model. All right. So this is like the high level of the adversarial ML attack taxonomy. Now, we will basically in this talk we'll focus on the adversarial attacks on a deep neural network, and more specifically on that, a security violation attack. So as I said, these are the attacks which basically tries to fool the model by modifying the input slightly, right? And so there are like various types within this attack, adversarial example attack. So here I have given a small example. Say this is a regular your neural network. It could be CNN or it could be anything. You fed an image, and now you get an output. Say it's a horse with 99.9% confidence, and it's basically, if you ask what is the label, what is the highest of the softmax, then it will be horse, right? So based on the information or the access the attacker has of the model, the attacks could be white box or score based attacks or high level attacks. So what is a white box attack? As the name implies, here the attacker has access to your model or the deep neural network weights, parameters, hyperparameters, everything, right? So this is a kind of white box attacks. Why you would do it? Maybe to harden the model, to ensure that your model performs or generalizes well for out of distribution data, right? So whatever the inputs you are used for training, you want to make sure that it can generalize. Even there is some slight modifications out of that, it can generate to some extent. So basically kind of like a certified robustness you can talk about, you can think about it. So that's the white box attack. And there is a second category of attack, which is basically soft label or score based attack. So here I'm taking a typical example of a classification where you have just before the final layer, you have logistic layers where you get a different scores of different labels. So it gives some percentage of scores to it. So this is called a soft label or score based attack. So here you have in this second type of attack, the attacker has an access to all the information of the output levels. It may not have the access to what is the weight of this unit, these links and parameters and hyperparameters and everything, but it knows, okay, horse probably 99.9% accuracy, or maybe cat maybe 0.001, dog maybe 0.1, something like that. So you have all these probabilities available to the attacker. So now attacker actually can figure it out. Okay, so maybe from going from horse to dog, maybe slightly easier task, in order to make the neural network fail in its job. So it can actually do that kind of calibration and then decide which direction to move. Right? So that is the second type of attack. The third type of attack is a hard label attack. So the model just outputs a horse. It doesn't say anything about how much do I confidence it being a cat or dog or maybe some another animal or object. It doesn't give that. So that's called as hard label attack. And these second and third type attacks are sometimes called as the black box attacks as well, because you do not know what kind of say neural architecture is there, what is the loss function is there, what kind of optimization algorithm is used, and so on and so forth. So that's how they're the classification of this attack. So we'll see briefly some of the popular white box attacks. As I said, this is a very evolving and fast moving field. Every day I see on ArcGive the preprint, a lot of papers been published. So you get to see a lot of new attacks coming in. So the best way to keep track is to basically subscribe to one of those lists where you get the updated of this thing. I'll just describe some of those, pioneer attacks. So this is the first kind of attack. This what we'll discuss is a fast gradient sign method attack. So this was proposed by Goodfellow, the inventor of the generative adversarial network GAN. Again, GANs is nothing to do with directly with the adversarial examples. They are kind of a generative model, but you could use also GANs for generating adversarial examples. So he proposed in 2014, he along with his colleagues, this kind of an attack. So what basically it does is that they modify the perturbations. Perturbations is what? The modification to original. So here, think of this threat model as that you have got some original image, say image of a horse, and now you are modifying that image slightly so that the model, the deep neural network classify it as something other than horse. So that's the threat model, or that's the objective, right? Now the amount of perturbations, so which perturbations are basically modifications to the pixels that you do, is you can calculate using this formula. So what basically this formula says is that you increase the gradient of the loss function in opposite direction. So when you are optimizing a neural network, what we try to do basically, you basically try to find the gradient of the loss with respect gradient of the weight with respect to loss, and you modify the weights, right? Instead of that, what you do here, you actually modify the input with respect to the gradient of the loss, and your objective here is not to minimize the loss but maximize the loss, right? So that's the slight modification from the traditional your how you do train a neural network model. So here is like this is adversarial image X, so it's like your set of the matrix of entire your pixels, and then this epsilon is like small kind of a multiplier to ensure that the perturbations are small. And what is the sign of the gradient? So basically you get the loss function, that is the j, theta is the parameter, x and y are basically your original input image, and what is the label for that image, like the clean label or the original label, and you differentiate, find the sign, and you actually move into different direction so that the loss is maximized, right? So this is like the kind of like a pioneer attack. It's a white box attack because, as you know, as you see here, that there is a access to the loss function of the deep neural network. The another method that was proposed by Mosavi and colleagues is a deep full attack. So they basically use a kind of a, they modify the perturbation. So they change the addition part to the original image, what we are adding or subtracting, or what operation we are doing, and they try to minimize the perturbation. So they use what is basically an L2 norm or L2 Euclidean norm. So this basically your difference from your original image and your perturbed image. So they measure that difference, because human eye, it may not be, it may look the same, but in order to keep it as small as possible, you have to have some measure. And there are like in the literature, if you will find a lot of different measures used to find out measure the difference between the original and your modified image. L2 norm seems to be the quite popular. Then there is L infinity norms and so on. So Wasserstein distance, which is like Earth-Moor's distance, has been also been used to measure the perturbations or modifications of the original image. That was the another. This is paper worth reading. I would suggest you go to the archive and read it. And coincidentally, TensorFlow on its official page also have a code walkthrough of how do you implement yourself this attack, FGSM. I have given this link. If you're interested, you can go and explore it. Just open it in Colab and you would be able to follow it through. If you have some background on basically how deep neural networks optimize and so on, you will be able to follow most of these steps. I will also in the end show a much simpler way of how to implement this using some existing libraries also. The another attack is the Jacobian based silencium map attack. This was proposed by Peppernot and others in 2016. So they use something called as the saliency values. So without getting into much of the details, the saliency values is basically those values. So can simply think of this as the pixels, and these pixels as a different dimension. And now you want to find out that dimension, which when changed will have the highest impact on the classification accuracy. So which pixel you have to find out those set of pixels or dimensions which after if you change them, that will have a highest impact on the classification performance, so that it misclassifies basically. So they use this formula to calculate the basically the saliency values, and and basically they try to minimize this difference as to how many such pixels are modified, right? So, and again, this code walkthrough is available on this site deepnotes.io. It explains and goes through the different steps as to how do you implement from scratch without using any like the attack library or anything. And from that their paper, so this is like the overall their architecture. So you have see they have taken the example of a famous MNIST handwritten digit recognition example. So there is like this one as a handwritten digit example which is given to input, and then there is a direction sensitivity estimation. So you find out in which direction if we modify there is a maximum impact, so which is like most sensitive direction where you should focus so that you are able to fool the classifier. And then you feed the neural network architecture. Then you find out, okay, from this sensitivity estimation you find out what is the which so you basically sort those saliency values. You do not modify all of them because otherwise it will be totally different image and it will no longer be considered as an adversarial image. So you select, you sort them out, you select them, then you basically add those perturbations, say delta x, and then you check whether it's misclassifies or not. If it does misclassify, then it's a success. Otherwise, you repeat this process on and on again. So here, for example, they just added. So this is the original image and this is the modified image. To us human beings, it's still one. Okay, there are some dots. So we just tend to ignore that. We just pay attention to, okay, this is one. That's all. But this is good enough for the model to be confused. And now it classifies it as a 4. So that's basically how this JSM attack setup that they had published. Again, this paper is all available in your archive. Now, the another category of attack is a Carlini-Wagner attack, which is the logistic or soft label attack. So, as I mentioned, this attack basically you have access to the probabilities or logistic values of all the output classes. So, if there are like 10 classes, you can access output of all the 10 classes. What is the probability of being horse? What is the probability of being cat? What is the probability of being aeroplane? Whatever there are the classes that you are trying to basically classify the input object. So this is basically a logic layer just before the softmax layer. And what the interesting thing they have done is they have formulated is an optimization problem. So what is that optimization problem? So what they have done is that basically the optimization problem is minimize delta plus c times the f of x plus delta such that x plus delta is within this limit 0 and 1. What it simply means in simple plain English is that you minimize the distortion that you add to an original image such that the original image is misclassified. So that's the basically what they do. And then they actually, interestingly, they use the various techniques in optimization, like change of variable and so on, to basically derive the kind of the objective function that you would like to optimize. And then they find basically what pixels or how much those pixels to be modified to arrive at an adversarial example. So that's basically the problem setup that they have worked. Very interesting paper to read. Again, there is a link that I have provided. So there it's explained in a little bit more details as to how do you go about implementing and deriving this function itself. Worth reading if you are interested. So there are other also soft label attacks. These attacks basically, as I said, depends on output probability score, although not all of them are derivative free. So what actually these attacks try to do, once you come outside of the white box attacks, they try to estimate the gradient. And to estimate the gradient, they take the help of the derivative. So they form some function and they try to minimize or maximize them by using the derivatives, the typical your conventional optimization methods. So one of the notable attack that was proposed first is the zeroth order optimization in 2017. It uses the as I said probability score, and it searches the score the modifications to be done using a method of a coordinate descent. So coordinate descent, if I have to explain very simply, so you have like
वो ग्रुप में से एक आज फ्री ट्रेनिंग है आज,
so
वो भी डाटा बॉन्डिंग की जगह वो कोडिंग की.
if you are not speaking, can you go mute?
हाँ, ज्वाइन करा मैं अभी.
Yeah, so basically coordinated descent works very simple. If I say give you say 3 coordinate functions, so it has like a function of 3 independent variables x, y, z, and what you do basically is you find out that coordinate, which you modify one coordinate and see what is the impact, whether it's maximizes or minimizes. Then you select the other one, then you select the other one. So that's the very high level idea of how the coordinated descent works. So they use this. Now, as you can imagine, it's a very high dimensional problem. So you would actually end up making like thousands of requests, actually millions of requests. So to the model, what I mean by request, so you modify certain pixel and you fed that image again to the neural network model and ask, hey, does it still look like a horse or is like an original clean label? If the model, the attack is not successful, then model will return the true answer. Then you again modify certain things, certain pixels using the coordinate descent approach. Then you again query the model. So you repeat this many times. Now, what is the, of course, drawback of this? If say you have implemented this model in a production, say over internet, and if there are like lot of requests are being come, some say millions of requests from certain IPs, then it's very easy to find out that there is something kind of like a anomalous activity or unusual activity, and your firewalls or your in the network intrusion detection systems could easily block off such IP source IPs, so that your model will not be attacked any further. So the whole direction of finding now the reinforce this kind of attack is to how do we minimize such massive number of queries. So with minimum number of queries, you should be able to find out the modifications to the original image such that the model is fooled or can make a mistake. So that's where but it was a good start in terms of basically doing it more of a black box nature and so on, but it still, as I said, needs the probability score. So it's not like a hard level attack. Then there is another Elias et al. Proposed neuroevolution strategy, so that they use basically the bandit optimization algorithm. So basically, you decide which pixels or area to be modified based on what kind of reward you get out of it. So that's the basic idea behind the strategy. And the similar population algorithm that was used by Mosley and others in 2019. So they call it adversarial PSO attack. So you might have heard of the particle swarm optimization, which is a population based on derivative free optimization method, which basically works on the philosophy of generating a lot of population of solutions or the potential solutions, and then basically deciding their fitment and doing it. So even genetic algorithm has been used for that, but they also suggest that they also suffer from the same problem, that they either need all the probability scores, like all the output scores, or they end up making a lot of queries. Now the final attack is the hard label or the black box attack. So this is the most difficult attack and most plausible real world attack, because if you are like deployed some web service or something as a classifier, then you're just going to tell what is your prediction. You're not going to always tell that, hey, this is my 10 predictions, and I think maybe this is 90%, this is 10%, this is 5%, so on. So you might just say, hey, I think this is a horse, or I think this is an aeroplane or ship or whatever, right? So that's how the this would work. And secondly, as I just mentioned on the previous slide, not you will not nobody no real implementation would allow like millions or thousands of queries from same IP being fed, and with the same kind of image actually, to be fed to be fed as an input to the model. So that would basically show that somebody is clearly trying to attack the model. So that's the another constraint that you have to work through. So the remarkable, or the first, I would say, major work that was done in 2017 by by Brendel and colleagues is the boundary attack. So they basically use the random walk around the decision boundary. So basically they formulate the decision boundary, and then they do a random walk and then try to minimize the perturbations. You can find out these details in ARSA also. They have explained in terms of, okay, how do they formulate problems and so on. The another one suggested in 2018 was Chen et al. The optimization attack, or they called as OPT. As you can imagine, this is a non-convex optimization problem. You don't know how many minimas or maximas are there. First thing, and on top of that, it is a step function. High level attack is a step function, because you only have two states, like either whether the attack is successful or whether the attack is not successful. There is no like a gradient. Okay, maybe your attack is 70% successful or no. You do not get any of that information. So that's very challenging to optimize that. And they have formulated this approach by how do you optimize this step function, and they have reduced the queries to great extent from boundary attack to by a factor of 3 and 4. Recent attack that was suggested is the hop skip jump attack. So it basically uses the gradient direction using binary information at the decision boundary. It is very query efficient. It needs lesser number of queries, and it's considered one of the state of the art attack. Now, as a part of my last research, what we developed is a query efficient hard level and derivative free attack, as well as hard level as well as soft level attack. So I will not be able to go in a lot of details in this introductory talk, but once probably inshallah when the paper is published and everything, maybe if served by invites again, inshallah we will have another session going in more detail as to what the attack that we have proposed. But that's the basic idea as to hard level attack is what we believe. I believe that it's a real world threat model, more efficient in terms of what practically would be allowed and not allowed, and how do we do that. Now, a lot of we have spoken about different types of attacks and so on. Now, what are the type of different defenses that has been proposed in the research literature? So one of them is what is called as a defensive distillation. So what is a distillation? So neural networks have lately become very bulky, complex, with like millions of parameters. I think GPT-3, the latest generative model, has like billions of parameters, or so something like 175 billions or something, very staggering number. And even for vision models also, that's the kind of the complexity that we are seeing in the research literature as well as in practice also. So when you are trying to fit this kind of neural networks into, say, small devices, say Raspberry Pis or embedded systems or edge networks, so they wanted a simpler form in which you could still reduce the size of the neural network, but still retain most of its power, right? So that's where the concept of a distilling of a neural network came into picture. Now, the researchers, Peppernet et al., he has done a lot of work in this area. He has basically come up with combining, using this idea of reduction in the neural network to how we can basically create a more robust neural network. So what they basically do is they, instead of directly training the model on the original levels, they create some soft levels. So how do they create a soft levels? Maybe this diagram would explain. So in soft levels, what they would do is, first you fed the original data, then you set certain temperature. I will show that equation. what is the it's like your simulated annealing kind of optimization algorithm, where you have a temperature schedule, you go on reducing that temperature so that you can balance both exploration and exploitation of the search space. And you train that model and you get the probability vector predictor. So instead of just getting some label or something, you get the probabilities of all those vectors, similar to any neural network, for example, you would get, but based on this the distillation temperature, as they call it. And now you use this probability class knowledge as your new training levels, and then you again train it. So instead of training just with the original labels, they modify the labels themselves and use instead of those labels, they use the this what you call the probability scores. So so what is this temperature value and how does it help? So what basically it does is that high temperature value ensures that softmax layer produces outputs with relatively large values of each class. So it will basically allow you to how much tolerance basically you want to have as to, okay, even if say probability value between this and this, I will still consider it as a horse with a confidence. So that's the kind of the fine tuning you can control with that. So basic idea to take away from that is that you basically modify the class levels into probability score instead of just taking the original class levels and converting into one hot encoded class levels and so on. You instead use the probability score. Another most widely used that I've seen in the literature and industry is the adversarial training. It was again way back proposed by Ian Goodfellow in 2014. So what the basic idea is that you apply the FGSM, the kind of attack that we first saw, the white box attack, to generate certain examples which are adversarial examples. And now to those adversarial examples, you give the true label. And now you add those adversarial examples to your original training data set. So it's kind of your augmenting or adding to your training data set this adversarial example. So kind of data set increases. And now you train your neural network using that, and it becomes more robust. So if the similar kind of say examples is there, once the model is deployed in production, it sees, then it will still classify it correctly because it has been trained and it has captured that representation so that it can safely do that. Other than image models, the Ian and his colleagues in 2019 have basically used this to design a new network intrusion detection system to basically combine the original data set with the adversarial data set, and they become robust against that kind of an attack. Now, there is a very interesting phenomena with the adversarial attack. There is something called as a attack transferability. What does it mean? Is that suppose you create a adversarial example using one type of attack and you compromise that model, or you create some some substitute model, you create an adversarial example for that substitute model, not the same as a target model, and now you use those adversarial example generated using the substitute model to attack the original model. The attack is likely to be successful. So that is what is called as a transferability, similar to your transfer learning concept. But basically here we are basically transferring that if a adversarial example can fool one classifier, then it can probably fool the other classifier also. So they have so Hussaini and others have basically come up with a way in which you have an adversarial example again added to the original your training examples, but instead of the original labels or adversarial labels, you just have a null label, so that whenever you are say training the adversarial examples, the model the deep neural network model, the model learns to classify that yes, if this is a kind of perturbed image or example, then it's most likely to be like garbage. It just throws like into its recycle bin. You can think of that, it's recycle bin of the deep neural network. The another variant not mentioned on this slide is you develop another model, you developed another deep neural network or any other model that classifies the input examples as adversarial or not, and once it is not, then you feed it to your original model or the target model, so that the target model, you do not have to do any modifications to the target model to make it robust, against adversarial attack. That is also the considered one of the defenses in the adversarial training. Again, this area is evolving really fast. A lot of literature is coming up. Very interesting area to watch and be aware of. So we'll now quickly do a demo as to how this attack works. As I mentioned, we will so there is this TensorFlow tutorial on the FGSM which walks you through the entire process. But instead of that, I will use a simpler library for this demonstration purpose, which is called as Adversarial Robustness Toolbox. It is a library from IBM Research Labs folks, researchers. So they have actually created a kind of an implementation, some from the original papers and so on, and built a framework around it. And it's continuously evolving. There are other libraries also, like a Foolbox is another I have found. This adversarial robustness toolbox are there, and so many are there are like libraries being developed. You can actually choose anyone. There is nothing like specific I have found, but this is what I found is slightly easier to follow and learn and do it. So I am doing it this on Colab. I can actually share the link over chat. So if you want to follow along, you would be shall I able to do it. Yeah, let me. So I pasted the link in the chat. So if you want to basically follow along with me or try it later on, you can use this as shared Colab notebook. GPU is not compulsory, but if you use a GPU enabled notebook, it's good. So just install that adversarial robustness toolbox. Then there is like it's a typical KRS based model. So what we are going to do is basically build a convolutional neural network, a standard CNN model, which classifies MNIST digits like handwritten digits from 0 to 9 into their correct classes. And now what we are going to do is we are going to attack, provide this, do this white box adversarial machine learning attack of FGSM, fast gradient sign method, to see if we can generate the images that can fool the classifier. Just importing that. Now you import the necessary library. So this is also called as the evasion kind of an attack. So we are basically evading the kind of adversarial examples. As usual, you will load this MNIST train and test dataset. It's split into training and test dataset. Now this is like the next is a simple or what you can call as a convolutional neural network. It's a sequential model build. It's conv2D followed by max pooling layer, conv2D max pooling layer, the flatten layer, dense and dense layer. And at the end, we have applied the soft mix, and all everywhere else you have used the ReLU as the activation function. And then combine the model, use the Adam as the optimizer. Pretty standard CNN model that we are using. Now, the another thing with this adversarial robustness toolbox is that it doesn't work with your eager execution. So TensorFlow 2.0, as you might be aware, that they have come up with this new eager execution to get parity with PyTorch and other libraries. So you will have to disable that, so that it can get the access to the gradient and loss and everything in between, and doesn't do like eager execution. So it can basically walk through the computational graph through it. So you instantiate. Right, fast. Colab has been like since last couple of weeks, I've seen a lot of changes Google has been doing to their licensing and their Colab suits, and sometimes with plain Colab, it's difficult to get GPUs, and even if I say I have your Pro model, sometimes it causes certain issues. Hopefully it gets through this time. What's the matter? Has anybody trying this along with me? And tell me whether you are able to pass the instantiating of the Keras classifier. There seems to be some issue. Let me change the runtime. Yeah, somebody said something. I didn't follow. So I changed my runtime to plain CPU. Let's see, because lately it's been challenging with the GPUs. I don't know. So first you install the adversarial robustness toolbox, import Keras and related libraries, and then attacks, then test split, and now build the model. Instantiate the Keras classifier. This is coming from your adversarial robustness toolbox. We pass the model. Clip values is like minimum pixel values, maximum pixel values, and so on, which is basically between 0 and 1. Maybe something is wrong. Keeps on crashing. Okay, good. So maybe there was some issue with the GPU, it seems. So CPU, it is working. So I'm just training it with 3 epochs. So it will just for the demonstration, but even with 3 epochs, this is a quite powerful model, and the data set is like a 28 by 28 pixel image of the handwritten digits, MNIST digits that you might have seen. It's like a hello world of neural network. So that's what we are training. We're still getting at a good accuracy of 95 and then 97 and so on. So that's the good part. Yeah, while it's training, Saif, if anyone has any questions, I think we can start taking them. I have one more demonstration, but it will be smaller one. So good accuracy 97.73. You can train it 10 or whatever epochs you want to train it. Now we will get these the predictions on the test data set, and the accuracy is 97.36. So till now we haven't done any attack or anything, just a plain your MNIST neural network. We have trained it and found this accuracy. Now we will instantiate this fast gradient method from the ART library. We will give this model classifier, and basically this the one of the parameters that we give, it's 0.2, basically this epsilon, which is multiplied with the random noise, so-called random noise, to generate the image. And then we store the generated image to the X-test adversarial kind of a variable. And we pass the X-test. Again, the adversarial images we are generating using the test images and not the training images, just to make it more realistic. And for it's basically very fast. The fast gradient is really, as its name says, it's really fast. Now, what we have is the adversarial image. Originally, the accuracy, what we got, 96.36. Now, let's see what earlier I got 28 point something. Let's see how much we get. So it's like 29.94. So the accuracy is dropped from 97 to 29.94. So like 97.37 to almost like 30%. So that is the huge drop in the accuracy that it can cause. Of course, you have access to the model parameters and so on, but it gives a good idea of the robustness of your model. So that's the FGSM attack. Any questions so far what we discussed? All right. So another attack that I will be demonstrating is the hard level attack. So when we saw the white box attacks, the FGSM standard hello world attack from adversarial machine learning, the another attack is the hard level attack. So this is the attack that I along with other researchers have proposed. It's still under review. I will just give you the demonstration as to how this attack basically generates the images. Earlier we generated these handwritten images. In this we take the images, real world images from a CIFAR 10 dataset, which has a 10 labels. So this is basically your ship, aeroplanes, and other different 10 classes of objects are there. So it's more kind of a realistic images. So those images has been generated using that hard level attack. Now let's see. So as I mentioned, the number of queries is a very important factor when you are generating the, you are attacking any model. So because if you allow a lot of images, then the attack is meaningless, because if if the attack needs a lot of images, then you are anyway going to get blocked by the security administrator or network administrator at the end. So I'm trying with a different query budget. So initially I tried with 210 queries. Then I increased queries slightly, 465. Then I increased further queries, 820. Then I will further increase the queries to 1620, almost like a double or so. And then 4,000 queries, 4,000 plus queries rather. And now what we will see as to with a different number of queries, what is the amount of distortion that it does, right? So here you will see, I'll just run through it. So what basically this figure is showing, this is the original image. It is classified by the CNN model as a ship. So that's what the label true ship says. The first column here, it says basically when you just have 210 query budget to fool the model. You can query the model only 200 times and you have to figure it out your adversarial image within that, right? So, and this is the L2 distance. So this is the Euclidean distance between the original and the adversarial image. So it's 1.6, 1.19, 1.05. So this is basically as you move towards the right, your query budget increases from 200 to finally 4,000 queries. So if you come at the 4,000 queries, the distance is just 0.86. That is phenomenal, right? And if you see the last row here shows the difference between original image and this adversarial image. So it's very small. So here at least you can see, if you look closely, probably you will be able to see there are certain spots you can see. But as you move to the right, even those spots become invisible. Here almost you don't see any spots, right? So that's the amount of the distortion that it is able to reduce it. Yeah. So here down you would be able to see certain images. Now we'll see how the difference between the images, original and the perturbed images. So look here, the lot of, so this is with the 4,000 query budget. So you go on reducing, you add this much perturbations and so on. So this is like the original image, modified image, aeroplane. So it's a truck. So not all attacks are successful. Some attacks are successful, some attacks are not. So that's what has been shown out here. So it's an automobile truck, quite close, and you can see only this little number of pixels that has been added to the original image. And this aeroplane, it thinks it's cat, but it's distorted a lot. That's the flip side of it. Right, and so on. So that's the basic idea behind these adversarial machine learning attacks and different types of these attacks. Yeah, any questions so far? It's an interesting research area. You can look more. There are a lot of survey papers are also there on arXiv. If you go, so you want to say typically say in security domain, how it is used, there are certain papers on arXiv. You can find them there. Or if you want to see, say, the natural language. So one attack category that I did not basically mention is a natural language processing attack. So a lot of like say sensitivity analysis, right? If you are doing that kind of a model, then it says whether it's a sentiment analysis. Sorry, so sentiment analysis where it says whether the sentiment is positive or negative. So there is some product reviews and it says whether the sentiment is positive or negative. So there are certain attacks that have shown that if you slightly modify certain punctuation marks, certain certain characters here and there, some small spellings here and there, then you can also fool those NLP models also. So that's very interesting that I came across. So that's something you could explore more. It's a very interesting area, and it is gaining a lot of traction from industry as well, because as the models are getting more and more deployed, specifically the deep learning. Yeah, one of the disadvantage that people you often hear talk about deep learning models is that the interpretability of the models. So that is one of the concern and hopefully this will help us get to the more towards the robust or interpretable models. Explain about the defensive distillation. Sure. So there is this question about defensive distillation. Let me see. Yeah. All right. So as I mentioned, what basically defensive distillation is it takes the inspiration from the distillation process of neural network, uh, which basically reduces the size of the neural network. So you might have heard about this lottery ticket hypothesis and so on, which basically says that there is a subnetwork, a hidden subnetwork within the neural network, which actually is the most critical one, which is responsible for the overall performance of the neural network. So it's in that league of papers, you can say. So it basically finds that kind of a neural network. So here what we are basically doing is let's decipher this equation more, maybe it would help there. So Zx denotes the output of the last hidden layer just before the softmax. So basically logic layer output. N are the total number of classes for all the classes. So it's basically your softmax function. High temperature T is the distillation temperature. High temperature value ensures that softmax layer produces outputs with relatively large number of values of each class. The output vector is used as a soft labels for training another. So what basically we are doing is that we are scaling the entire logic layer output to the softmax. So as you know, softmax basically produces a valid probability distribution. So all of that output, if you add them, it should add up to 1. So what it is doing is that it is taking that logistic layer output and it is scaling between 0 and 1 using this distillation temperature. You would repeat, you are basically repeating this process again and again, right? So that is the idea. And once you train that and once you get those labels there, then you use those labels instead of the original class label. And you use those labels with those probability labels and you train then the model. So that's the basic idea. More details, I think if you go through the defensive distillation paper, I think paper not, you'll be able to find out more on that. You can ping me later on if you have like some specific query on it. Sure. Yeah. Any other questions? All right then. Hello, Saifai. I think that's all I had. If you have anything else.
Do we have any more questions from the audience? Okay, so I'd like to thank all the audience for joining this interesting session, and we'd all like to thank Amir Bhai for taking this important and very research-oriented session.
Thank you so much, Amir bhai. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for attending, and feel free to go through it and ping me offline if you have some questions. I'm also learning and researching. Maybe together we'll find out something more. Jazakallah, Saif.